Use the code CHICKEN in the shop.
Hey guys, the Chickens here. We're back today with another Boom Beach video. In today's video, guys, I wanted to talk about some of the problems we've been having with Season 50. And not only just the problems, I don't want to just focus on the negative in this video. I want to go over how I think we could fix a lot of these tech trees that, aren't fun and that kind of thing. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate those of you using that code CHICKEN in the shop. I'm doing these videos in advance, so I don't know if today's a key day or a token day, but make sure you check your shop for that stuff. So the thing with warships, I feel like, especially with tech trees, and the reason that, if you go and watch videos and then read comments, like there's usually people complaining about something or another, or people praising something or another, right? The thing with tech trees is that they're kind of subjective because they're not necessarily, the same. Like, I mean, it's the same tree, but it depending on where you're at, it affects people differently, right? And there's different paths that you can take that might pay off for some and might not pay off for somebody else, depending where you're at throughout the season. So I feel like some big takeaways from this season are a lot of the things that we've already harped on. Like, I get the idea in general to put tanks and Zookas first because it's a troop that we don't normally use, right? They didn't want us to heavy rush out of the gates, and that's something that people typically complain about, right? Is using heavies right out of the gates. So having tanks right off the bat is good, and it's also good for people that don't want to buy instant training. I believe the Warship Tech Tree should allow for free-to-play and paying players to progress at relatively the same levels. Obviously, there needs to be some sort of advantage to having the IT. I think the advantage is being able to simply play more. You can get just as far, ideally, without instant training, just with good attacks and good planning. IT allows you to just kind of dive in and then figure it out as you go. So the tech tree should allow for both of those. Obviously, every season's not going to be like that, but it shouldn't be... they should avoid where all of the troops, the meta is all of the troops dying on every single attack, especially early on. So as we move forward, we got a troop health here. Again, that's good. But the problem was, the thing is that early on, like we look at these, we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 nodes right there until we get to the very first Sky Shield, right? If we move ahead here and then we look at the difference, so look at the difference here, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. That span of stuff will take a very long time to get through simply because of the cost of this engine room. Now, if we backtrack over here, it's going to take not very much time at all to get through these type of nodes. And what ends up happening is we go from, 2 ERs to here within like the span of a day. And then, by day 2 or 3, everybody's over here. And what do we got? We've got all the defenses. We have level 3 prototypes, which I think were a mistake. Level 3 protos would be cool, but and they're great towards the end of the season because that's when you want to have hard-hitting prototype defenses. Maybe the option to upgrade them with keys would be interesting. Like for 6, 8, or 12 keys, you could upgrade your prototype node. So it kind of matches your base level throughout the season, and then you're not smacked with a level 3 Sky Shield or a level 3 Hot Pot that just incinerates everything early on. Or maybe as you unlock a certain amount of engines, your prototypes automatically level up. Maybe that would be something they could do. I don't know. That's a different topic, but let me know what you think of that in the comments. But what ended up happening here was everyone had the defenses. Everyone had the Sky Shield. We did have a troop health, so that's good, but it just simply wasn't enough. And the troops that we were using were very slow. Zookas were not really able to be used at all. Tanks were a bit slow, and they were fizzling. We almost had to get Everspark. And unlocking heroes early on that we don't need ends up, making for a slower season. Now, with the free keys and tokens, it doesn't really matter as much. But let's just keep moving forward here. So the problem was 3 and 4 became kind of a Fizzle Meta. And I feel like with Warships, that's just the worst thing that they can do is to have... I know because it either becomes... Like, it goes both ways, right? It either becomes a Fizzle Meta or base race. And there's extremes to both sides, and I felt like this season we were in a bit of an extreme at times in 3, 4, and 5 ER with your troops dying right away without being able to clear a single engine room. I feel like that's always a problem. Sure, having tough bases is good and strong defense is good. It makes it more fun. But it's such a fine, tricky thing to balance. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is there. I think what the answer is just give us 100 troop health before 5 ER. Maybe make that a hard rule. I don't know. But yeah, just you got to avoid that where it gets so defensive or there's so many options defensively that you can't clear engines and you can't collect chests because that gets very frustrating very quickly. So we'll move forward a little bit here. Now, the other thing to keep in mind this season, like we said, was the free keys and the free tokens. Now, that was actually ended up being a saving grace, I think, for the season because if we think about it, so just for example, it helped me out the other day because I went 6ER without the prototype node, without the shock blaster. And 6ER without the prototype was awful. It was so bad. It was so bad. I was losing every attack, struggling a little bit on offense. So what did I do? I was able to not play, sit back, wait for the free keys to come in. Then without having to grind, 10, 12 battles, losing the whole time, I was able to just simply unlock the shock blaster. And that allowed me to stay where my rank was. Then I got my rank chest, boom, got the cryo bomb, off to the races. So the keys and tokens really helped out during some of the Fizzle metas for sure, just to keep people moving. That's the problem with the Fizzle meta is if you can't collect chests, you get stuck. So having the free keys in that instance, I feel like kind of saved the Fizzle meta stuff. The problem with free keys and tokens is that it keeps everybody at the same level throughout the entire season. So it's kind of like regardless if you're getting rank chests or not, everybody kind of has the same thing when you go in next. And, the problem with that is you want the top players to be at the top, which they kind of ended up doing anyway. So maybe I'm making this seem like more of a big deal than it actually was. But you want the top players to separate from the pack. You want those guys up there playing each other. You want them away from the average players like us. We want them up at the top and away battling each other. You don't want everything just moving in kind of one big ball of everything because then you're never really progressing throughout the season. You know what I mean? You need to have those tech points that are kind of far away, and that's going to allow those guys to just collect keys and whatever, and then break away from the pack kind of, and then it becomes easier for these guys, to individually, like my hand signals are, to individually level up through that pack, as they're able to beat normal players that have similar tech to them. So that's kind of, I would say, overall the problems with Season 50, and I hope I didn't just come off negative there and had some actual, ideas for making it more fun. Because I feel like after the Season 40 seasons, the tech trees kind of got stale. And, I think at this point, it's great to always have something cool, new, and exciting. That's always fun to break down. But the more fun thing is to have a balanced tech tree that works. And, Warships is always different. Even if we're using, heavy rush at the start and then we're racing a heavy chopper bomber at the end. I think that's fine overall because, the deck layouts are going to be different. The order of stuff is going to be different. It's always, you got to figure out what am I going to unlock when. Am I saving keys now or am I pushing? That kind of thing. There's always a million different variables that go into Warships. That's like why at the beginning of the video I said it's kind of subjective. A tech tree is kind of subjective because it depends on how you play it, which is what makes the game so cool and so interesting. So that's kind of my thoughts on some of the fumbles with Season 50. Overall, it's been a cool season for sure. Just had some really frustrating points mixed in there. And then obviously the whole... I didn't even talk about the reset thing because that was just like a bug and it sucks. But we're all gonna start the reset next season, so that's gonna be interesting. So you guys let me know what you think. If I missed anything, let me know down below in the comments what you would add to this, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Make sure to let me know that down below in the comments, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. That is gonna wrap up the video today. Make sure to leave a like if you found it interesting, entertaining, or informative. Catch you next one, guys. Chicken out, back.